Welcome to our unit on the Constitution. So the way I'm going to set up this video is it's going to be a little bit informative and it's going to help you step by step go through and complete all of your assignments for this module. All right. So first things first, let's recap a little bit about the Articles of Confederation. So this was the first plane of government for the United States, but it really didn't do a whole lot of government stuff. It was mainly a military alliance between the states. Now, it did get the new country through the American Revolution, but then afterwards they're going to notice some weaknesses and some problems that are going to lead to us eventually getting the Constitution. So some issues with the Articles was that there was no executive branch to enforce the laws Congress passed, so the National Congress could pass laws all they want, but there was no one there to make sure they were being followed. There was also no federal judiciary branch, so all the different states had their own systems of courts and all that kind of stuff. No lining them up with each other, no federal system to kind of keep it together. And then in order to pass anything in the Congress, you had to have 9 out of 13 congressional votes because each state got one vote. It did not matter about the population, how big or small the state was. Everybody got one vote. But as you know from today, you're talking about anything that passes through Congress at any time it's very difficult to get a supermajority. It's difficult even now to get just a regular majority with, having a vote, 51 to 49 or whatever, but they needed 9 out of 13. So not a whole lot of things got passed because it was difficult to get everybody to agree. Now, after that, in order to change the Articles of Confederation, you had to have 13 out of 13. And so there were never any changes or amendments passed to the Articles because they could not get everybody to agree. So we see these issues. Everything's going to kind of come to a head when we have Shays' Rebellion. So Daniel Shays is going to lead a group of people, and they are basically pretty mad about all the taxes. So they decide that they're going to try and seize a bunch of weapons from the armory and overthrow the government. They're like, this isn't working. The taxes are too much. We don't want to do this. They obviously had a problem with having a property seized, and then of course the whole issue of debtor's prison where you put someone in jail and then you're like, hey man, you still have to pay me back, and they're like, but I'm in jail. So not the best system. But anyway, so Daniel Shays and his guys are trying to overthrow everything, and the federal government's like, we don't have any money, we can't do anything, we don't have any troops, and so the Massachusetts state militia is going to have to step in and put down the rebellion. But after this, everybody's kind of looking at each other like, oh man, something's wrong, we got to fix this. So we're going to go into talking about how the Articles of Confederation was changed. But right now, before we do that, I'm going to ask you to pause this video and go ahead and work on your discussion post for this week. So I have posted a Google Doc that has a little bit more background information if you feel like you need to read it or if this wasn't quite enough info for you. There is some background reading for you posted on the discussion. And then you're going to choose one of the two positions. So basically in favor for changing the articles or in favor for letting them be. You are going to make sure that you explain your answers in paragraph form, and you're going to use specific historical evidence to back up your opinion. Either way, you can choose either one. They can't be wrong. Right? After you do your post, you're going to make sure by the end of the unit to have replied to 2 of your classmates. It doesn't matter their stance. You can agree, disagree, but make sure that your response is more than I agree with you or I disagree with you. Again, we're looking for a paragraph form, well thought out response. You can say you agree or disagree with the person, but explain why and your thought process on that. And of course, my favorite, specific historical evidence. All right, so we're going to pause here and go work on that. All right, welcome back from your first discussion post from this module. I hope you made it a good one. So we left off talking about the Articles of Confederation not being super strong, and then of course leading to issues with Shays' Rebellion and everybody kind of looking around at each other like, oh no, gotta change. So they decided to hold a constitutional convention because most of the states, mostly everybody, agreed that something had to be changed, something needed to be done to make sure that this plan of government they had was effective. So this convention is going to be meant to amend and alter the articles, and basically what they're going to do is they're going to end up just completely changing it to where they move from a confederation to, a confederal style of government to a federal style or a federation of government. So under the Articles of Confederation, you basically had strong states and a very weak central. So that was the confederal style. And they're going to move with the Constitution to having a stronger federal government and weaker states. Now, there's going to be lots of compromises along the way till we get everyone to agree and eventually pass the new Constitution. So now is going to be the excellent time for you to go work on your Constitutional Convention stations, because that is going to take you through 4 stations to talk about the Great Compromise, so how we compromised on having a separation of powers with 3 branches and a bicameral legislature with different types of representation. We'll talk about the 3/5 Compromise, the differences between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, and then just kind of a recap about America getting a new Constitution. So now would be an excellent time for you to go work through those stations. So there is going to be a document for you to answer your questions on, and then of course there will be the PDF that'll have the actual station information on each one for you. So again, go ahead and pause here, and then I'll see you back for the next assignment. All right, so I hope that your Constitutional Convention stations were helpful and illuminating and informing, so that you understand now how we got to the Constitution. So remember, we came from the Articles, things were weak, it was a confederal system, we're moving to a federal system, and at our Constitutional Convention, we're going to come up with some major compromises. The biggest one, going to be called the Connecticut Compromise or the Great Compromise, is going to be between the New Jersey Plan and the Virginia Plan. And basically what's going to happen is we're going to end up with 3 branches of government: an executive, a judicial, and a legislative. But our legislative branch is going to end up as bicameral. So the Senate, every state's going to get the same votes, say 2 votes, and then the House of Representatives is going to be based upon population. So that's going to be our big compromise between the big and the small states. Then we're going to have the 3/5 Compromise, which is definitely a little bit more dark, where those southern states had smaller populations but still wanted their enslaved population to count towards their representation to give them more power in the legislature. So they ended up compromising that enslaved persons would count for 3/5 of a person towards the population for representation. And then, of course, to appease our anti-federalists, we're going to add the Bill of Rights, which is going to be the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. So after we get all those compromises, we put it all together, you have the Constitution. So now would be a super time to go ahead and pause this video and go work on your constitutional scavenger hunt via Google Form. So what I did was I found a more simplified version of the Constitution that's a little bit easier to read and to look over, and then I've created a Google form that's going to have questions for you about the articles, so about the setup of the 3 branches and the responsibilities, and then about the amendments, which of course are going to include the Bill of Rights, tell you what your different rights are and all that kind of stuff. So go ahead and pause for me here, and then you can go open that Google form when you go to the assignment. And again, that PDF of the simplified version of the Constitution is attached to that assignment. When you finish, you are going to make sure to screenshot your submission page and upload that as a PDF or a JPEG, whatever kind of document you want, to upload it to the Dropbox. So that way I'll get your answers and your score via Google form, but I'll just double check that you definitely turned it in via CourseDen by having that screenshot of your submission. All right, so go ahead and pause here, and I'll see you for the recap. All right, so far we have talked about the Articles of Confederation, how they basically let everybody down. We had to redo Shays' Rebellion, how it led to the forming of the new Constitutional. Then we went to the Constitutional Convention and basically just kind of changed everything. And then we had a bunch of compromises. Then you did your Constitutional Scavenger Hunt, so you can see how those changes are to the Constitution, right, from the convention really affected you and impacted how the government is ran currently. So after all this, after the Declaration of Independence, the new country needed the new plan. We have the articles that get them through the American Revolution, and then we go through all of that to make all those changes. Lots of talk, lots of compromise. We went through kind of what already happened. So basically to make sure that we had a government with enough checks and balances to stave off tyranny, which was the real fear of the Founding Fathers after dealing with the king for so long. So now we have completely finished our module on the Constitution. So just as a little recap, it would be a stupendous time for you to review all the American documents we've discussed. by completing the sequencing the docs activity. So that's going to be via a Google Slides. So what you're going to need to do is open the link. I'm going to give you the link, and then you're going to create a copy. Make sure you save it with your name in the title, and because you don't want you typing on the template, because everyone has to use that template. And then whenever you finish matching, you're going to put the documents in order chronologically, and then you're going to complete the matching activity. When you finish, you'll upload the link into the assignment Dropbox, but please make sure that you do the link, when you share the link, that you edit the settings so anyone with the link can see it, so that I don't have to ask for permissions to view your work when I'm grading. All right, so I will also post some other resources as well as this PowerPoint for you in the module. If you have any questions, as always, please reach out via email, and I'll be happy to help you.